that actually works for them. Because Li in particular, he likes Enchanter-style supports, but it doesn't mean that he can't play hard tanks.
And I think that is also a more rare sight, right? Most roamers right now, most supports go for tanks. Maybe we see the Diggy every once in a while. Maybe sometimes you see the Esthers getting touched in the ban list, but you don't really see it get picked too much.
Yeah, it's very situational, and I think, you know, it's particularly difficult to play the Esthers because it requires a lot of team communication, and the way that they position must be around the Esthers at all times, or at least be relatively near it so you can link up with it. So that's the hard thing about Esthers. Coming back to RSG's side, right? I think if they want to kind of make things work, they could fall back to the Fredrin strategy, the Fredrin flex pick that kind of works well with both Zayed as well as Rippo, ideally more on Rippo's side. But Zayed, I think he needs more picks on his hand. Like, give the man Vendetta, give the man the Lancelot if necessary.
And yesterday was I think yesterday they were not able to pull it off comfortably, right? I think we look at the XP and jungle matchups, which I think will also be a big theme in this series. Yesterday, Red Esports have been able to figure that part out, right? We make Zayed and Ripple uncomfortable, and we just punish them over and over again.
I mean, they want to be able to hurt them as much as they can because it's going to affect the rest of the team, right? When you're looking for your EXP laner to be able to kind of hold on his own, but you still expect him to rotate for these big team fights, you got to make some sacrifices somewhere.
I just love the side of Mali just chilling, you know. But that's a big boy relaxing. Big boy ready to have a good time. Jump into the draft with the 1-1 Fanny and Eve. The first 3 heroes are taken now. Again, Novaria will always be an option starting from today, thanks to the embargo lift. Some teams have been ignoring Novaria completely, not even banning it or picking it. Some teams have been, you know, labeling it as an essential ban. I think we saw it in the form of the team. Was it a Red Esports early on?
Red Esports, whether blue side or red side, they'll ban it out. It looks like RSG MY is taking that sentiment here. I feel like if you are going to be thinking about banning out Navarra, you want to be on that red side. You generally don't want to give that first pick over. But then again, it's still, to me personally, I feel like Navarra is a situational pick, but then again, it doesn't feel like people have really researched, analyzed her, especially at high tier play, whether it comes down to the micro of like what's exactly the build, what are you looking to max out first. Everybody's going to have their own opinions about this.
It's more of the fear of the unknown, right? You're not really sure what the limit of Novara is. Maybe the fact that she can make you easier to get hit by skill shots is a scary thought, but no, we'll not see Novara this game, unfortunately. Lancelot does get banned now. Now this one is more of an interesting one because we normally don't see a first phase Lancelot ban. The Diggy also removed by RSG.
For some context here, I feel that like with Zayed, he's been performing on Assassin so very much, so it's great to see him find those kind of like in-betweeners, especially since the meta is demanding for tank junglers, right? Lancelot kind of fits that build, and before people discovered tanks a lot, Zayed was consistently playing Benedetta in the jungle as a tank.
And I think Manus Esports basically just eliminated the easiest choice for RSG, right? Just with the Lancelot ban. And note the Droid, it does slip through, so Manus Esports instantly pick it, but both Kaja and Franco are available.
As well as Arlott as well. I think definitely the Kaja is taken into consideration here. There's a possibility that Pozan pulls it off in the mid lane. I don't know whether it's in his pool to play Joy, but something that RSG MY might be considering here, because Minzatar already looks great, Kaja also looks great, but you can't technically get both of them.
I mean, that Diggy ban at the very last part of the first phase, it works well for RSG MY, right? It's in their favor right now. They also have the Farmers, the Glue, I mean, plenty of options at this point. So Valentina will be the first one to get picked up. Go with the Arlott. So now is in Manus Esports court. They have the options.
Okay, alright, so Glue isn't touched this game. It feels very odd. A lot of teams really hate dealing with the Glue. Nobody really likes handling it. I personally think that he kind of falls. He is like the Uranus of this particular patch.
Yeah,
right?
I can see it.
Unkillable, untouchable, scales into the late game as well. Like, come on, what don't you want from this particular hero?
Pick Beatrix.
Pick Beatrix?
For some reason, it ignores the Glue. But for Manus, I mean, this is a long shot, right? Because we did see this one time, this Joy into Valentina. matchup. I'm not really sure if Madness were paying attention to that particular game and whether that even was even a possibility. But with this Franco and Farmer's pick, right, that we can rule that one out. Joy stays in the XP lane. Franco obviously in the room, and this Farmer's is going to take the mid lane.
Yep, Farmer's. That means RSG, MY. Sorry, say it again.
Do you think they can put the? Do you think the farthest roam is an option? I mean, you did mention Mali does play enchant supports a lot, right? And
Yeah.
we did see that option show up, I think, in the past series.
Yes, I mean, we did see it in the past series. I don't think this is going to be the case because they've already locked in that Franco, right? You need to make that instant impact, and if Mali isn't going to be playing it, who else will, really? Unless they do like a quick swap between, you know, Pozan and as well as Mali for this particular matchup. Then again, I don't have too much information. It's only based off of pure assumptions.
RSGMY and go for the Kufra. It's a good way to stop the Joy and kind of go for the counter engagement again, just completely ignoring the Kaja.
They should have gone with the Kaja. I personally would have liked it. Yeah, the Kaja probably would have had a lot more impact in this game. But I think, you know, RSG MY are also considering the options of counter engaging, right? I think that with the Kufra, as much as people would like to believe, oh yeah, you're able to stop all kinds of dashes, that's not true. Joy goes right through him, She
Joy
is
doesn't
CC
care.
immune. Oh man, and you know what's the funny part? Even Arla goes through the dash.
Yeah.
So annoying.
Yeah, I think that was the first thing that a lot of people were noting about Arla, right? It's like Misita stops dashes. Arla was like other dashes.
I mean, that's why Mincetar is like really, really good in these matchups because they don't even allow you to cast it.
Yeah.
While in this case, I feel very cheated, honestly. When you're playing Kufra, you bouncing ball, and you just see like both Joy and as well as Arla go right through you into your backline. It's like, what am I here for?
Yeah, Kufra bouncing ball prevents dashes, and then these two heroes are like, you mean other people's dashes, not mine.
Apparently, there's a casting system for dashes.
There's a priority system, right? This dash is more important than your bouncing ball.
My dash is more powerful than yours.
If I travel at the speed of light, you cannot block me. So we get the carry banned out. Hayabusa taken by Madness Esports. Just homing in on Zay's hero pool.
Yeah, if they're going to home in some more, they're probably also going to bang Ling as well. But they already have the Franco, so I feel like it's almost like a non-issue. They just want to make sure that Zayed is running out of as many options as possible. RSGMY now holding priority for the very final ban here. Is there anything that they're really worried about? Gold lane, not really. Yeah, they get rid of the Fredrin. That's probably a good idea.
I mean, compared to the Hayabusa, the Ling is a bit easier to control, right? It's easier to tap, so he doesn't like phase into the shadows. Madness Esports last ban. They also can target the marksman. I mean, only only carry has been touched. Off on Melissa, right? Melissa or Beatrix, either one of them.
I think this might just be a Claude game. No. Melissa probably is better than all of them combined, right? You want to deny it off of your opponents. Now, RSG can take it a couple of different directions. They could go for the Martis pick here early. The anti-CC is always going to be great. You can buy plenty of time, and obviously there is that interaction with the Iron Hook, but it doesn't happen too often. So I think for RSGMY, if they want to also take, oh man, not the Beatrix. If they also wanted to take the Melissa too, there's still a couple of things that they could try, but at the end of the day, they're going with the Beatrix here. I think that the Joy is going to have a fun time.
Yeah, I was looking at the Melissa, right? Because Madness Esports, ideally, you know, in the ideal world, they probably want to get rid of the Melissa, so you make Joy's life easier. But I'm very surprised that Melissa got let through, and RSG still decides to not pick it up. It really felt like a pick that not only stops the Joy, but if there's a call altar, you make quick work of it.
Yeah, you make quick work of the temp HP, and obviously Joy isn't exactly the best matchup in the world, but there is a degree of counterplay that you have. In comparison to like to a Beatrix, your only counterplay is through your battle spell, right? There's nothing else that you can really do but hope to maybe juke them out with the tactical roll. Finishing off their composition, Madness Esports go for the Bane as well as the Mincetar. They are, look at all their faces, they're all like, hell yeah, boy.
I mean, who needs a marksman? I mean, Beatrix? You want one hook? Sorry? No, we have two hooks.
We have two hooks. We clear waves. You want to siege us? We won't let you. We won't let you go from the gold lane.
I see you have a Kufra. What does the Kufra want to do? Come right at me? Yeah, sure.
Sure. That's not
Kneel
gonna be an
before
issue.
the Mincer top.
Okay. So that means. Okay. We don't know where who the jungler is going to be. We can only assume that it goes into the jungle here, and maybe it's going to be the Joy in the gold lane. But we'll see for now. RSG MY now need to start considering if they go for Martis, they might be in a little bit of trouble. The King's Calling isn't going to let him actually play the game with the motor coils, but they go for Ling, who dashes even more.
All right, I need your final thoughts on this because it has been a pretty interesting and a bit confusing drafting phase.
Okay. Well, Zavs is the one who's going into the gold lane with the Mincetar, really? So Sonic is going to go into the jungle with the Bane. All right. Final thoughts on it. I think on paper, Madness Esports' draft looks really good, but it's all dependent on the first 4 minutes of the game. And the first 4 minutes of the game do terribly, like really awful. I'm talking about like a 3K to 4K lead in favor of RSG MY by that 4th minute. I think the game is basically done for.
So if Madness Esports gets a good start, starts snowballing, it's GG.
It's pretty much GG. It's difficult. It's really difficult. They have all the right tools. The question is, how do they get it at the right place at the right time against RSG? Or how does RSG even approach the problem?
Oh, we got an interesting series, got an interesting game to kick off this series. Game 1 between Madness Esports and RSG MY. I mean, if you're looking for revenge for what happened in the regular season, I mean, this is one of the best ways, right? With picks that's probably threw RSG off guard itself. I mean, there's also a point to be made at RSG and MY. They're getting picks that, in our mind, isn't really ideal, but let's see how that works out.
Yeah, let's find out. Let's find out, right? Because I was expecting Bane to try to sandbag the gold lane, because as much as you want to dive him, all of his abilities keep him alive and also clear the waves very efficiently. So I would have expected Bane to go into the gold lane rather than Zavs having to play this Mincetar. He has to bite the bullet for the team.
And I do suppose that he's not going to be taking too much punishment also, right? He needs to hit that level 4, and it perhaps also opens up more options for Madness Esports if they want to hit the side lanes, because you have good ultimates that can allow you to do so, right? The King's Calling.
I want to agree with you really bad here, but I'm seeing that Zavs decided to go for the Master Assassin, so let's give us info.
And just use, there is a big Tempest of Blade. First blood goes over to Izanami.
Oh!
Does get hooked back right into the hands of Sonic, who blows him up.
Oh man, this early game damage coming out from Sonic, man. Whoo-wee! That ultimate, perfectly timed, collided right on top of Zayat in the Tempest of Blades. There's no way he was going to iframe out of there.
Ooh, Sonic even forcing Ripple to go for the flicker. And this, I mean, it's going as well as you could have wanted for Madness Esports in the early game.
Yeah, but we're not seeing that gold lead that I was hoping to see just yet. Izanami able to steal away that gold crab, denying Sonic a little bit of EXP. But on the opposite side, right, it looks like RSG has completely given up on this neutral objective. Instantly, we see the vertical jungle from Zayat.
Zayat instantly goes for the purple buff as well, because, I mean, Sonic in the jungle matchup, he definitely does have to lead topside. Solo kills for Lo Liaos as he gets rid of Zav, who even used the flicker. Meanwhile, Zayat really wants the purple buff. Mali cannot stop him as he gets away with his life.
This should be an instant invade, right? No, it's not going to be an instant invade. Bane isn't going to transition his way through mid and run up into the enemy orange buff and close out the EXP gap. But instead, he's going to power farm on his own side. I think that's going to be the safer option. Man, RSG, they take away a river crab one time, and now everybody's taking away the river crab.
Oh yeah, Mali just waiting for the iron hook. If he had the flicker, he would have probably flickered in for the kill onto Lo Liaos.
He would have let him have the river crab and then instantly flicker iron hooked.
Oh yes.
So far, game pretty slow here. RSG MY has a little bit of a gold lead, but at the end of the day, the EXP is going to be far more valuable.
Zav is still a minute away from his flicker, but does have the King's Calling. Mali would just walk up. Need to stabilize this Mincetar lane, but they have Sonic with them, right? I mean, the sieging power from Madness Esports is quite strong. You have a lot of variables to need to consider as a Beatrix, right? Without a tactical roll or a flicker, there are 2 hooks you need to consider, and even then, there's still people who can jump on top of you. And I mean, Pozan, he's just going to use the Ghost Burster to constantly clear out this mid wave.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's getting too much support from his jungler either. So Pozan just left to do his own thing. Madness don't mind him coming out late. They're just aware of the timings. Oh,
okay, he's gonna go in and blocked by the Franco. Instantly hooking him back in. Nate goes down to Sonic. No Liao's unleashes the ultimate. Doesn't get much though. Izanami right in the bag, finding the Franco. That's gonna be Mali go down. Pozan trying to help his team as much as possible, getting the Spectral Stampede and his Sav helping him out. Pozan finds a double.
A 2-for-2 trade. Unfortunately, Zobs, I'm pretty sure he's going to lose a little bit of EXP at some point, but that's why you see Pozan just kind of hovering around this side, right? They want to make sure that that Zobs is able to recall back into base, get back up to get his HP back, and come back into the lane when the wave crashes.
Manatee once again at the objective first. Zayat nowhere to be seen. Mali just uses his body as a brick wall. As long as they can't really engage the backline, doesn't have flicker, they definitely won't be so worried. Io onto Nate. They will get rid of Turtle first, as Nate won't be able to do too much. Izanami can't join the fight. And they even uses the flicker to get to the back. I'm not really sure what's the plan, as Madness finds a killing spree for Pozan.
He was looking for engagement onto Sonic with the Tyrant's Revenge. He flickers for it because he got Iron Hook backwards, right? He's already in position to give it a try, but it was just a little too late. The animation was just a little slow, and Madness Esports were able to fire off the artillery, you know, launching out the big ultimates as well before anyone really got punished by it.
All things considered, still an even game, right? I mean, even RSG and Y, there's every now and then this is like a very even scale. They're tipping it every few seconds. And Esports not having any meaningful goal lead.
Yeah, it's not easy right now. And Esports are trying to take the initiative, but it's just, what can you really do, right? The waves get cleared out so fast by this Beatrix.
Yeah, trying to run away. Actually, the final slash doesn't connect onto him. He's gonna pop the Vengeance to tank out the Tempest of Blaze, and Pozan comes in. Very premature call also to help him.
Nicely done by Yeah. Making sure that, you know, not getting hit by that final slash from Rippo, but also survives Zayat's onslaught. Now with the Berserker's Fury, he's got some damage built into him, so he's going to be looking out for some squishy targets, ideally when the call Altar is down.
Just posturing for the mid-side, finds nothing, and now it's back to this jungle farm. Nothing much can be achieved on the map. Surprisingly for RSG and Y, with this draft, you would expect them to get a little bit more active, like find a lot more plays, but props to Madness for identifying those threats and just making sure that they don't put themselves in those vulnerable spots.
Madness Esports will eventually scale, right? I mean, they're not going to scale as hard as the Beatrix, but that's like 1 out of the 5, right? And RSG and Y, on the other hand, if they're not escalating the situation, they're allowing Madness Esports to take space. These neutral objectives are not easy to fight for.
Iron Hook into a Shadow Stampede, putting Ney back. Yeah, it's going to be dead. The Sharks don't get rid of Ney, but it does force him back.
Oh man, the Sharks are so slow. They travel so very slow. They're not having to worry about that, but he does lose out his flicker, and now this neutral objective should fall into the hands of Madness.
Zayat looking to contest it. He is a level up on Sonic. Rippo, he's in a rough spot. They will get him. As Madness Esports turn their attention onto Rippo, now Zai shows up, still can't get the turtle. Pozan with a flicker backwards, avoids death, as Zayat now in danger. The Shark just gobbles him up. Izanami disappears in the presence of Sonic. Madness finds 2.
Izanami, he tried it. He went for the dash and then straight away into the flicker to try to take out Pozan. He had a rough idea that he was in the bush, but unfortunately still manages to survive. RSG lose out the engagement, and this is what I was talking about, right? These neutral objectives are hard to fight for because of the King's Calling, because as long as Madness Esports holds on to their ultimates, they have the nuclear option ready to go.
Finally, a slightly meaningful goal advantage for Madness Esports, but you look at the stats, Lo Liao's at least 2-0 so far on his Beatrix. We've seen his performance on day 1, absolutely crushing it. Is he going to be the sole win condition for RSG right now?
I think he is going to be one of the sole win conditions, right? Because you can't expect Zayat to 1v5. Finding a pick could be difficult with the King's Calling, and Rippo needs to get really, really tanky and to be able to buy some more time. It's just hard, right? You have to sacrifice something until the King's Calling is down before you look for that re-engage. And in the meantime, Madness Esports can actually accelerate the game because of it.
Sonic with that BOD and Hunter Strike. He is going to two-shot your Ripple. Not in a good spot again. Will get pulled all the way back. They commit 2 different pulls just in case as Yeah finds Low Liao, forcing him to flicker and a roll to safety. And maybe Ney will not be able to make it out of this. Slams them into the wall, but there's no follow-up. Ney forced to flicker, and Matt is constantly getting takes.
Yeah, I mean, Ney could have definitely tried to push them into the Bennett's range a little bit more, but there were no priority targets, and didn't seem as worth it. Or maybe he thought about it a little too late because he was in a bit of a pinch. In the meantime, Madness Esports, 3K gold lead on their side. It's slowly starting to compound.
Mali will get his flicker back up in just 4 seconds. So another playmaking potential for Madness Esports. Pozan also has his as well. He's gonna get pulled back. Ney again, Spear of Glory, dragged back the second time by the Shadow Stampede. And just like that, losing majority of his health.
Yeah, Madness Esports, they are blowing their abilities really quickly. I think they need to layer the CC a little better, and I think then it would be a much cleaner game than what we're currently seeing.
They essentially have 3 hooks, you know. They should farm his first, Spear of Glory, then Iron Hook.
Oh.
You can cover the entire distance between inhibitor turret to the fountain.
You can potentially drag 3 people back into the King's Column. I think that would have been the most ideal
You could drag the whole team into Spear hit that.
I mean, we're making a lot of big assumptions here. I don't know whether or not he's going to find that 5-man. The closest we've seen so far locally is a 4-man.
The hook onto Ney. Again, they find him in the King's Calling. No chance. The final slash does nothing. The Bennett's Rage absolutely deletes Ye. But it doesn't really matter. Low Liao's also gets traded back. Pozan still very healthy in the front. Lloyd is dropping low. Madness Esports secures this. Sonic gets rid of it. Hedgehog or Octopus, he gets the job done. He slashes, absolutely rips apart RSG. And why Ripple is still healthy? Maybe Izanami can save the fight, and he barely does so, but Madness still gets the better trade.
Oh, that's so unlucky. He dashes forward, but all the missiles, the magic missiles, decided to go on to farm. Is really nicely done by Pozan by positioning himself as close to Izanami as possible to tank the shots for him. Yeah. With a huge vengeance play, allowing himself to die, but Lolio's getting chunked out. 50% of his HP disappears, and then that's when you see Sonic just walk up, Crab Claw into the ale to take him out.
Yeah, Sonic just spat on Lolio's, basically.
Basically. Wait,
Is
he gonna find it? No, he doesn't find the angle.
Still a 3K goal lead after all of that. You know, as much as Madness Esports have the lead, it's not the big one. You know, it's not something that RGMY can't recover from. This Lord is basically done a done deal. Yeah is trying to run down Zayed. He's gonna push it back a little bit.
It's not too easy to do that. They've already sacrificed the mid-tier 1 for this, and now the jungle is open. Purple buff exposed. Vulnerable Rippo!
They're gonna try it again. Rippo absolutely deleted. The Bennett's Ray is not good enough. The shove into the wall is still a bit too late. They lost 3 just like that. Izanami is gonna be the fourth to go. Steals the shocks, but these shocks, they don't hurt.
Left out to dry, RSG MY could not do anything about that. These team fights are basically impossible to play if they are all grouped up one on top of each other. They lose an inhibitor for this as well, and now Zayed is held hostage.
Sonic's just gonna walk on forward. They will just beat this Crystal to submission. 12 minutes, get it. 12 minutes. And Madness finds the game 1.
Oh my goodness, so difficult to play the game. It looks like this draft worked out just fine, and Zops held out for the team, taking the most amount of punishment in lane.
God damn it, Mali, don't block the high five.
And
then the shove in Messiah is like, get away, Franco.
Just the boys. Just the boys being boys here. 1-0 currently at match point against RSGMY so far, but they have to be extremely careful here. Really careful, in a matter of fact, because I don't think they're going to get away with compositions like that for too long.
Hey, the mentality you mentioned yesterday, right? Play a wacky one, like what CI Esports did, and then go back to conventional gameplay. Beat them the proper way.
Yeah, beat them the proper way. Make RSG hate that comp so much that they're going to ban it in the following game, and you get Novaria.
That's true. Who they want to ban? Minseta, Bane, Joy.
If we see the Bane ban, we know for sure that is left the mark after that game number 1.
Honestly,